stores across the United States of America. Grocery stores and chains are starting to lock down the availability of items. And now we're having reports come in that TrucKers, the just-in-time delivery system, the people who actually get your goods, your food, your hygiene goods, your over-the-counter medicine to your grocery store shelf, are going to be shutting down. As the country heads into a third wave of social, economic, and biological conflict, and as the rising potential for renewed lockdowns becomes a reality across the United States, just as it's a reality across the rest of the world. You have lockdowns in Germany, you have lockdowns in the Netherlands, you have lockdowns in Britain. It's happening. Just came out of lockdown in Australia. Anyone who says it won't happen again here does not know the extent that this government will go to control what is happening right now. That goes for riots, protests, social unrest. That goes for biological threats. That goes for what's going to happen when people wake up and they can't put a Thanksgiving turkey on the table. What's going to happen when they wake up and they see that the eviction moratorium has been deleted, allowed to pass away, and they no longer have a home, no shelter over their head, nowhere for their children to sleep at night except maybe a pillow inside their car. And then because of the laws in the U.S. right now, that's illegal. So what are they supposed to do? They will be at their wits' end, at their breaking point. And that's when those control measures, those renewed lockdowns will come into play. Organizations are beginning to increase their production lines to avoid grocery shortages that Americans encountered earlier this spring. They can make all the toilet paper in the world. But the real question that you need to start asking yourself is what's going to happen when the people who deliver those goods to your grocery store shelves, who deliver those goods and make them available on the online marketplace, stop delivering them. That's an increasing possibility across the continental United States, where it is being reported that hundreds, possibly thousands of truck drivers are preparing to begin a trucking industry shutdown, one that's going to alter the outright breakage of food availability, hygiene good availability, over-the-counter availability, and the supply chain to grocery stores and large marketplaces across the United States. I need you to look at your preparedness goods right now and say honestly with yourself, not can I make it stretch, not can I make do, not will I just be able to find a way to make ends meet when I get to there, but look right now and say, do I have enough toothpaste for the next 4 months or 6 months? Do I have enough aspirin? You're starting to see that aspirin is being used as a COVID treatment, because blood clotting is an issue. You're starting to see that Pepsid AC or famotidine is being used as a COVID treatment. Do you have enough of those over-the-counter medications, the fever reducers, the antidiarrheals, the calcium carbonate, things like Tums? Do you have enough of what's there? PPIs, whatever it might be that you might need or a family member might need, do you have enough to last you the next 4 to 6 months? It could be things to check your blood sugar. It could be thermometers. It could be toilet paper, toothpaste. No matter what it is, look at what you have and say, can I last 6 months? What's that risk? Everything. Hygiene goods like soap and toothpaste, and soap is one of those things. I never want to be in a position myself where I'm facing even just seasonal influenza during a crisis, and I have to go out and I have to make wood ash lye to clean my hands, to make things safe. I never want to be in a position where I have to boil enough water with dirty items inside of it or bring things to a boil to be able to continue life at the house, at the homestead, or wherever you might be at your apartment. Can you imagine the upset in your day's routines? Who's going to keep watch? Who's going to watch communications? Who's going to listen for new information about the crisis that you're facing? And that could be just the financial crisis that we are all facing. Who is going to do those things while you're spending 4 hours of your day boiling water and cleaning things because you don't have enough soap or because you don't have a water filter? So take stock of what you have right now and prepare that you don't have to break your routine or break what you expect to be your routine in a crisis just to make those things happen. The danger to our society is getting worse, and it's getting to the point that going to the grocery store just to resupply the food that you've eaten, resupply the things that you need at home, is becoming a dangerous event. Because social and political climates, individuals are calling for harm against others, blindsided attacks. They're calling for outright attacks against people of differing social views, political views, religious views. The time of decency is over. The time of acceptance is over. And you won't come back to that acceptance and decency until the society suffers enough calamity that everybody wakes up for a minute and says, you know what? This isn't fun anymore. I don't want my children growing up in this type of environment. I don't want them to see the things that I have suffered through and seen. And so they make those minded changes, full of mindfulness, and they say, okay, I don't want that anymore, so I'm going to make a change. And society has to do that as a whole. Right now, society is past that point, and the time for decency, the time for people to look and say, okay, well, I understand that, and I'm just going to let it go, even though that view differs from mine, that's over. You have reached a line in the sand, a breaking point where people are saying, your views are different than mine, attack. You're doing something that I don't like, attack. You're doing something else, attack, even under the guise of defense. So you as an individual need to be prepared that going to the grocery store, going to get things at the pharmacy, getting a delivery at home, whatever it might be, you need to be hyper aware now, and you need to look at your environment around you, and you need to say, okay, I'm walking outside of my door, and you need to have a place that is secure and safe for your family. Most likely that's your locked door in your home, whether that's an apartment or a home or a homestead, no matter a car door, no matter what it might be, a van, you need to have that security, but you need to be hyper aware. And when you step outside of that security, that controllable environment, you need to know that the climate outside of your environment is dangerous. Just like if you were living in low temperatures, but the inside of your home was warm, as soon as you step outside of that door, you have a dangerous climate. What's happening outside can directly harm you, and it might not today. You might be stepping out at before the sun goes down, and so UV is able to keep you warm. You might have enough clothes on that it doesn't make you too cold and get hypothermia. But you might get caught outside during a time where you weren't expecting danger to attack. And at that point, you need to be ready. So be hyper aware. Know that just going outside to the store, just going to maybe take a walk around the neighborhood, talk with friends and family, don't be scared. Fear is not something that you want. You want controllable understanding of the world around you. I understand that this political and social climate is different. I know that I have the tools and the personal awareness and availability to me to remain safe and keep my family safe. And so you control that environment outside of your safe, secure shelter. When you go to talk with friends, when you go to the store, make a plan. Do things smart. Think it out. How are you going to get away from a dangerous environment? How are you going to stop yourself from entering into a dangerous environment that's going to potentially put you at a conflict with the law? Think about all those things and make a plan for those. So blindsided attacks are being called for. It's not just disgruntled citizens that are dividing our nation. That divide runs deeper into the authority level. From one side of the divide calling for attacks on political parties to news now that police organizations, in particular in this single report, but it's happening all over the country, this single report shows an Arkansas police chief, not just some officer on the beat, not just some rookie on the street, but the chief and presumably countless others that work under him are calling for direct attacks and harm against people with different ideologies. At the request of the mayor and other political leaders, the chief of this police department has resigned. This is after reports showed that he directly called for attacks on other individuals. Kevin Elliott, the mayor of Marshall, a city of roughly 1,200 people, about 100 miles north of Little Rock, said in a statement that he condemned these acts. The Marshall community says does not in any way support or condone them. Graphic verbiage, I'm giving you a warning here. What they called for, and I'm not going to repeat it because YouTube has some restrictions on what you can even repeat that was being called for, but I'm going to alter it so that it's safe for everyone to hear under these guidelines. When this is over, this is according to the police chief. Remember, not just some officer. This is the person who's going to make the decisions when conflict happens. When this is over and Trump is president for 4 more years, he says, do not forget what these Marxist, expletive, so uses some vulgarity here, have tried to do. When you see one in public, get in their face. Do not give them any peace. Throw water on them at restaurants, and then he calls for harm on them. Do something to them to harm them. Never let them forget that they are traitors and have no right, again, he says, no right to live in this republic after what they have done. Other screenshots show that he called the FBI and the CIA Marxist organizations working to overthrow the United States of America. No matter your political views, you might be aligned one way or the other, you have to know that there are people of equal anxiousness, maybe anger in some cases, on the other side of your spectrum, directly across the street from you. And those people might be just as angry as you are. They might be more angry than you. You might be peaceful, and they might be the angry ones. You have to know that they are looking at everyone else as the enemy. If you're not with me, you're against me. This happens in every social collapse. It happens during every time of crisis. There's a great divide. You're with me or you're against me. There's no room for in-betweens. There's no room for maybe one way or the other. There's no room for changing ideas or views. It becomes you're with me or you're against me. And so you need to know and understand that people out there are looking at you and looking at the rest of their city, their country, their countrymen, as either being with them or against them. And some of them have drawn their own lines in the sand, and some of them are saying, okay, now's the time to act. That makes it very dangerous for you taking your family to the grocery store, you taking your family for a stroll around the neighborhood without awareness. Imagine if you're just walking around. Maybe you had a political sign up in your yard earlier this year. Now, a couple of weeks have passed, you've taken the sign down. Maybe you said, okay, well, now's not the right time to just to show everybody my own ideas here because of the climate. A couple of weeks passed, you're walking with your family around your neighborhood, not thinking anything's wrong, everything should be okay. You presume that the rule of law is still in existence and that those police officers are going to come to your aid prior to an event taking place. Well, that's when the attack can strike. You might not know. It might just be a car driving by. It might be a random attack. It might be sought after. Somebody might see you that knew you had those signs in your yard, and they might take all the anger that they have boiled up over here, take it out on you. So now is the time for you to step out of your shelter, your secure home, your apartment, your van, whatever it might be. Look at the world around you with wide open eyes and say, I know that this climate outside is dangerous. This environment outside is dangerous, just like if it was sub-zero temperatures and wet everywhere. So I'm going to do the things necessary to protect myself. First, by being hyper-aware. Second, by using the tools that you have for communication and information gathering. Are there attacks that you're seeing in other places? Are there people calling for attacks on other people? Use that information and go, okay, that increases my awareness. Now, you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be scared that there's a boogeyman around every corner. You need to know that danger exists in this world because we don't live in a time or a place of just, lollygagging. People who, it's not 2019 anymore. It's not even 2018 anymore. The time has changed. Last on the list today, I want you and your family to please look at your supply list. Make your orders now, whether that's tools for security, cameras for your home so that you have an extra eye outside before you breach that door. Before you open that door, you have an eye outside that says, okay, everything's fine out here. There's no one causing trouble. There's no one vandalizing my house or my car. There's nothing going on, even though there might be protests or something dangerous happening down the city. Whatever it is, make a list and start working on it. It doesn't have to be expensive. You might say, Brad, I don't want to spend $400, $800 on a security system, cameras outside. Don't. $25 WYZE security cameras. They hook up to your internet. You get an alert on your phone. They can detect the difference between a person, a cat, or an automobile going by. It's a great investment for very little money. You might say, Brad, I don't have $3,000 to really boost up my food, my staple supplies. Then don't. $25 pound bag of rice costs around $16 to $18, depending on where you're at. It might be as low as $9. That gives you 30,000 calories. Rice, flour, sugar, oats, canned corn, canned vegetables, soup, things like that. Very inexpensive. It will get you through the crisis. Look at what you have available to you. Make a plan, make a list, start chalking away at it, and be ready for the dangerous environment that's outside. Special thank you to each one of our Patreon members. We're really looking forward to starting those live shows. Consider joining us at patreon.com/full-spectrum-survival. If what we do for here on this channel has helped you, that helps us give things free to other people. From my family to yours, please stay safe and keep watch.
Bible Space Time. Hope everyone's having a great fucking day.